It's Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. Gotta say, man, good Super Bowl. I was very impressed with the game in general. And one of the driving forces that made me happy with the game was that the referees allowed both teams to play until the final 2 minutes. That's always a thing in the NFL that annoys me. I'm going to get on that in a moment. But the Los Angeles Rams are your Super Bowl 56 champions. Got to give credit where credit's due. I was pleased with the competitiveness of both defenses. I feel that this was a defensive-oriented game. My pregame prediction was was considerably higher than the 23-20 final. I gotta say that the Odell Beckham injury, in my opinion, kept the Bengals in the game. I believe that if Odell doesn't go down, I don't think the game would have ended up as close as it was. Joe Burrow, I don't know what to say. I mean, there's a couple of plays in this game that are going to be remembered. The extra point miss didn't come back to haunt the Rams. There was a particular fourth down opportunity in the first quarter that the Rams didn't convert on. As silly as it sounds, that actually might have come back to bite them, considering that the Rams scored on a short field. Matthew Stafford to Odell Beckham Jr. Beckham, I don't know the severity of his knee injury, but I do believe that it's going to require surgery. Aaron Donald could potentially retire after this game. But what I most enjoyed about this game was a consistency on defensive effort. The referees allowed both teams to play. It was a violent game. It kind of gave me the vibes of previous Super Bowls, but the Super Bowl that this game reminded me of most, with the way that it played out, the way that it ended, was you got to go all the way back to Super Bowl 43 when the Pittsburgh Steelers defeated the Arizona Cardinals. Kind of the way it ended, even in the corner of the end zone, Stafford to Kupp. The Bengals had their chances to put this game away. I think a play call that's going to probably haunt Bengal fans for some time is going to Perrine as opposed to Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon is your bruiser. I understand that on third downs you like to bring in guys that can catch passes, but on a running play, third down, when you're trying to at minimum get into field goal range, at the time they had one timeout left, I think the Rams, made the play, but the Bengals made a legitimate mistake. I think you got to go with your best guy there, and your best guy is not Perrine. Your best guy is Joe Mixon. Another play that's going to haunt Bengal fans for a long time is the Tyler Boyd drop. His first drop of the season. Very cruel way to finally have a drop on a potential chain-moving catch that could have really worked the clock, and possibly the Bengals had an opportunity to put them away. The Bengals still have not won a Super Bowl. For the Rams, this is their first Super Bowl victory in Los Angeles. They did have a previous Super Bowl victory in St. Louis. And, the Beckham injury, for a while, Stafford was lost because in addition to that, he also didn't have his tight end situation working where they had to go deep on the bench. But Cooper Kupp is named the game MVP. Hell of an effort. On the final drive of the Rams on offense, the thing that really I couldn't understand was that it appeared that they were going a little too soft on Cooper Kupp. I could not understand how, when they limited him for the most part of the game, it seemed like, I think in a situation like that, you got to do everything in your power to force Stafford to go anywhere other than Cooper Kupp. But Kupp made some tough catches in traffic and is very much deserving of the game MVP. I don't think Stafford had a real chance to win game MVP after throwing that second interception. And interesting enough, I had predicted that Odell Beckham would have won the game MVP. And I believe that he may have very well been on track for that prior to his injury. He had a good game before he got hurt. As a Giant fan, it's kind of weird and bittersweet. I am happy for Odell Beckham, but at the same time, I'll be lying if I said I wanted the Rams to win. I do feel the better team won today, but I also feel that Matthew Stafford missed a lot of throws on that final drive. I understand that the announcers have to build the game up to the best of their ability, and even in post-game situations, they have to do their very best to highlight certain stuff. But I do feel that Chris Collinsworth was kind of overselling the throw and catch final drive between Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp. I don't want people to be confused. This was not Montana to Taylor. This was not Big Ben to Santonio. Not trying to take anything away from a well-earned Super Bowl victory, but I believe there were a few things at play here. I think early on, the Cincinnati Bengals looked like the team without the experience. But I had texted some friends and said roughly around the 3-minute mark that the Bengals are going to win the game. Excuse me, the Bengals are going to blow the game. And I do believe that they just left too many missed opportunities out there. Very controversial play in the game has to be T. Higgins. Obvious face mask on Jalen Ramsey. When I saw the game play in real time, I actually thought that there was a push-off. When they slowed it down, showed the replay, he actually had a hold of Ramsey's face mask. At any rate, it was a fly route. First play coming out of halftime, and immediately gave the Bengals a 17-13 lead. In a 22-second span, Matthew Stafford on his first offensive play of the second half threw a pick. But the Bengals ended up settling for 3 on that drive. On their first score, they settled for 3. There were a lot of missed opportunities where the Bengals probably could have won the game. And as you can see, I was rooting for the Bengals because I'm really dissecting their failures. Both running games, you got to give the edge to Cincy to a level, but Cam Akers came up huge late. When he needed a first down, he got a first down. I think the Bengals were beneficiaries during their AFC championship run. I mean, you got to be good sometimes, but you also got to be a little lucky. And when I say lucky, I feel that both Mike Vrabel and Andy Reid were kind of outcoached themselves. And I do think that played a hand in the Cincinnati Bengals getting where they were. But you take nothing away from them. A big joke going into this game was that the Rams defense was going to dominate and the Bengals defense was going to get obliterated. Bengals showed up today, and you got to give them credit for that. Just those final 2 plays when you needed a yard to continue to move the sticks and attempt to get McPherson in a position to kick a potential game-tying field goal that could have sent an OT. I didn't like the play call distribution, but I also understand that the Bengals' offensive line was a legitimate weakness in this game. And that kind of leads me to the immediate future. If the Browns, somebody misspelled something. The immediate future of the Browns. Wow. Of the Bengals. Sorry, Browns, Odell. Moderately confused. A lot going on at one time. Immediate future of the Bengals and Rams. And basically, I'll start with the losing team, and I'm going to move it over to the Los Angeles Rams. I believe that the Bengals are going to make it a massive priority to get more talent on their offensive line. Joe Burrow had a scary injury in the second half of this game. It was on the knee that wasn't injured last year, but initial reaction, I thought that Burrow might have been knocked out of the game. They gave up a playoff record, 9 sacks to the Tennessee Titans in the second round of the playoffs. They kept him relatively clean in the KC game, but the point is Burrow gets hit a little too much, and that's their franchise investment. Going into this draft, I had actually projected them to take Penei Sewell out of Oregon, who ultimately went to the Detroit Lions. Instead, they chose Jamar Chase, who I think they did rather well with that given the history of Burrow and Chase in college. But for Cincinnati to get to that next level and to be able to put teams away in situations like this where they didn't get the job done in the fourth quarter, I do believe that the O-line has to be a massive need there. They are not a bad O-line, but they are in no terms elite. And when you consider the kind of talent at quarterback and the skill players that the Bengals have, that has to be a massive investment coming into this draft. Moving on to the Los Angeles Rams, with Aaron Donald winning a Super Bowl, there is a potential possibility that he could consider retirement. Looking at future investments in terms of Von Miller and Odell Beckham, who were both additions and both approaching free agency now, going into the new NFL season. With Odell's injury tonight, we're going to find out more about it. I don't know the severity of the knee, but even before the injury, I think you have to prioritize paying Von Miller because when you have, two future Hall of Fame players, actually three if you consider Jalen Ramsey, I'm sure in the coming weeks we're going to find out about Aaron Donald's future. But the point I'm making is what got the Rams over in this game ultimately was their defense. They were able to limit Cincinnati when they needed to. Not the cleanest game, but they did their job. Offensively, it's going to be interesting to see what the Bengals think now because Robert Woods, who had a season-ending injury, was replaced by Odell Beckham Jr. Odell essentially being a rental. I think that he kind of jumped Woods for the future, looking at what happens next year. But now with Odell's injury and a healing process that needs to occur, I would think that if it comes down to only keeping one of the two new additions, they're going to lean towards Von Miller. Having said that, they can do things cap-wise that can keep both players. I imagine that they would want to keep the core together, but it's not as easy as it sounds. I kind of viewed the Rams going into these playoffs as a super team. They kind of gave me the Miami Heat vibes, and naturally I wasn't a fan of winning any championship like that. But they earned it. They had some really hard-fought victories. I mean, they had a cakewalk in their first game against the Arizona Cardinals. But yeah, Jordan, Kupp is definitely a boss. But after the Cardinals victory, they defeated the world champion Tampa Bay Bucks. They had a moderate cardiac situation there where they almost blew the game. Cam Akers putting the ball on the floor, Tom Brady being Tom Brady, doing Tom Brady-like things. Next week, they beat a team that has had their number for 2 years in the San Francisco 49ers. I think going into the playoffs, most people figured Green Bay to be their opponent. It wasn't. It was the 49ers. Hard-fought game. They came back from 10. And again, they came back in this game. And when people talk about what the Rams do well, I think many would say that they play well with a lead. In this particular situation, and going back to the title game, they had to come from behind. And that's a true measure of a champion. So I do believe that the Rams more than earned it. The Bengals would have become the second. No, Jordan, he's not that dude, pal. My buddy Jordan Patrick kind of coming in here. No, buddy, he can't be that dude. And I appreciate you jumping in, but he almost gave that game away. That's my genuine opinion. On this one, I agree with you, though. Cooper Kupp is undeniably a boss, much deserving of the Super Bowl MVP, and he kind of came through, eerily and oddly enough, in the same way that Julian Edelman came through for Tom Brady a couple of years ago against these same Rams. Well, when I say same Rams, they had Jared Goff at the helm. They scored 3 points. Not the same squad, same coach, a lot of the same faces on defense. No matter how many shiny toys Matthew Stafford inherited, I don't think Stafford's that dude. I think that he caught some breaks because during that final drive, there was some passes that Stafford missed that I was just like, wow. And one final thought that I want to give on this game, and this has been a beef of mine with the NFL for quite some time. The only reason why I'm not going to go too ham about this is because on the T. Higgins touchdown, it was clearly, it happened fast, but it was a missed face mask that obviously would have negated the touchdown. Later in the game, when the Bengals had an opportunity to hold the Rams to 3, which would have made the game 2019, instead on 3rd and goal, they got hit with a holding penalty. And when you look at the way that these referees allowed both teams to play, it's always a tough sell as a viewer or a fan or both to say that that call is the right way to go in that juncture of the game. By no means am I going to sit here and tell you it wasn't the right call. But it is a little annoying when the refs seem to always have their flags ready to get thrown in the final 2 minutes versus the first 58. After the week 1 playoff nightmare with the referees really botching, oddly enough, the Bengals game that benefited the Bengals and the 49ers-Cowboys game, which benefited the 49ers more so than the Cowboys. The refs were awful all around the board is the point. I don't like to discredit teams' victories, but that's not going to change. Similar to the NBA, the refs look for the whistles and look to get guys on the free throw line in the final minutes when the same exact plays are going down for the remainder of the game. Yeah, you're right, Jordan. Only 4 flags until that point. That's the point in a nutshell, bud. That's the thing that kind of messed up my head with this is that you're not having all of these penalties during the course of the game. And I'll be honest, bud, the Joe Burrow hit that I thought was going to knock him out of the game, he came back on the next series. It happened to lead into a 4th down. I thought that was after the whistle. I have to rewatch it to give you a clear confirmation. And I'll be honest, I wanted the Bengals to win this game, so I might sound like I'm pouting a little and that I'm a little annoyed. But I'm smart enough to say that the better team won. The Los Angeles Rams were the better team during the course of the season. During the playoffs, you can make an argument that they were both inconsistent. Obviously, as 2 4 seeds, when you get a 4 seed, you're going to be inconsistent. The most consistent teams in the NFL were sitting on the couch for this game. But definitely a good football game. As a Giant fan, as I already stated, it's bittersweet. There was part of me that always thought that Odell would have won a Lombardi trophy with my team. I also think in a weird way, forgive me for saying this, it's moderately poetic that Odell didn't finish the game. Not that I wish injury on anybody. I would never wish injury on a player. But I did find it kind of strange from a poetic level that he won, but he wasn't on the field. You know, things have a weird way of working out. But I wish Odell a speedy recovery. I don't wish that on anyone, regardless of whatever opinions I might have on a particular player or the way that they handle themselves when it comes to doing business with teams they play for. Odell Beckham is a phenomenal talent, and I must admit that if he didn't get injured, I actually think that this game might have been a rout because they were having a hard time covering both Kupp and Beckham. They were able to hone in and start making some plays when Beckham and also Higbee, which was Jordan's MVP pick. Both Jordan and I, our MVP picks got injured in this game. So I guess we got to be careful. Have a great night, Jordan. Next year, buddy, it's going to be the Punt Bowl. Yeah, Jordan and I will be going to the Jacksonville New York Giants football game next season. This was a damn good Super Bowl. Last thing I want to say, Rob Gronkowski recently made mention of how he has admired Joe Burrow's game. And I must say, if he was to land in Cincinnati, that would be awesome. And it's funny because just like you had the Belichick and Brady comparisons and who can win without who, from a competitive nature, and after Gronkowski coming out of retirement, a 1-year retirement to play with Tom, makes me curious if he wants to give himself a personal challenge and see if he could win without the only quarterback he's ever really played with, barring, the 4 games that were attributed to the suspension with Deflategate. But the idea of Tom Brady being retired now and Rob Gronkowski playing with Joe Burrow, that would add a very interesting dimension to an already efficient offense. But in the offseason, like I said, the Bengals really have to focus on that O-line. They have a pretty good defense. Defense played better tonight than I expected. On the other side, the Rams, they did what they had to do. They spent a lot of money to win a Super Bowl, but now they have to figure out some salary strategies to maintain what they already accomplished and see if they can roll off a few more. I don't know what's going to happen, but I believe Aaron Donald is going to retire similar to the way Michael Strahan retired after his lone Super Bowl victory. It's always pretty awesome to go out on top, and you can't always go out on top. When you're there after putting in so much time in the league, and you're preserving your body, and these guys have families. So I do have an inclination that Aaron Donald was going to retire if they won, which they did. We'll see how that plays out. With the Aaron Donald retirement, though, there is a possibility that the Rams may be able to keep Von Miller and make their choice between Odell Beckham Jr., Robert Woods, or going outside and getting somebody else. It's going to be a very interesting offseason, but I enjoyed this game. It was a really good game and a hard-earned victory. It was nice to see a team in there that you didn't expect, and quite frankly, 2 teams, because I was hypercritical of the Rams all season long. The Rams are the Super Bowl champions. But, man, I'm happy that Stafford did not win that MVP because I did not want to hear from Brett about that. Enjoy the rest of your night, everyone, and I appreciate you guys hanging with me. Try to do my best to keep everybody in tune to what was going on in the bowl. I was kind of jumping around from my Facebook and IG pages. Got some cool videos of some of the bigger plays in the game. It was an exciting game. Have a great night, everyone, and thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. I'm out.